I used to think Cardano was just another overhyped crypto. Slow, boring, maybe even a ghost chain. I was wrong. In fact, what I discovered about Cardano completely flipped my perspective on the entire crypto world. Seriously, this story has it all. Skepticism, intrigue, a few facepalm moments, and a twist that even had my Ethereum buddies saying, wait, what? It all started with a simple question from someone in our free educational Discord server. The link, goes without saying, is in the description of the video. So why not come hang out with us? We were chatting about crypto one night. A newcomer goes, so what's so special about Cardano anyway? Cue the awkward silence. I opened my mouth, then I realized I don't have any good answers beyond the usual buzzwords. That was the moment I knew I needed to dig much deeper. I mean, I'd heard the debate. Some call Cardano the Ethereum killer, others call it vaporware. I'd seen some dramatic price predictions. Folks on Reddit saying Cardano ADA will hit $100 or even $500, which honestly sounds bonkers. But I'd never bother to find out the truth myself. Consider this video my personal quest to uncover why Cardano is so different from any other crypto I've seen, and what that actually means for people like you and me. By the end of this video, you might be as surprised as I was. So where do I even begin? Picture me late at night, fueled by curiosity and way too much coffee. Now I'm definitely starting to sound like Nick. Deciding to play crypto detective, the first thing I do is hop onto the exchange and grab some Cardano ADA, you know, for research purposes. I chose BitGet Exchange for that. Yep, shameless plug, I know. I've got an affiliate link in the description of the video for BitGet. It does help support the channel if you do choose to use it. So thanks in advance. A few clicks later, I'm a proud owner of Cardano ADA, staring at my screen like, all right, Cardano, show me what you've got. Now, I remember back in the day, my buddy was all in on Solana, and he teased me a lot, saying, dude, Solana is like a Lamborghini, super fast. Why are you even looking at Cardano, the turtle? And he wasn't wrong about the speed. Solana boasts crazy transaction speeds, like 65,000 TPS in theory. And Ethereum's doing its whole rapid fire thing with DeFi and NFTs. Meanwhile, Cardano was, well, taking its sweet time, up to 20 TPS on a good day, methodically rolling out updates like each one's a PhD project, which, funny enough, isn't far from the truth. I used to roll my eyes and think, sure, Cardano's secure and decentralized or whatever, but at this pace, will it even matter? Then I stumbled on the backstory. Here's the thing. Cardano was founded by Charles Hoskinson, one of Ethereum's own co-founders. The drama, this guy splits from Ethereum and basically says, I'm going to do my own thing completely differently. Instead of the move fast and break stuff vibe that a lot of crypto projects have, looking at you, Solana, outages and Ethereum's gas fee chaos in 2021, Charles and his team at IOHK, if I can get my words out, chose the mantra, move slow and fix stuff. They laid out the grand plan with fancy era names like Shelley, Gauguin, Basho, and Voltaire, like chapters of an epic novel. And they decided every upgrade would be peer-reviewed by academic and tested to the moon and back before going live. I'm thinking formal verification, math proofs, hiring top researchers, the whole 9 yards. It's as if NASA decided to build a blockchain, maybe a bit overkill, but dang if it doesn't aim for perfection. At first, I found this approach almost comical. At the time, Cardano took to launch smart contracts, which was finally arriving in 2021. 4 years after the network went live, Ethereum and others had already hosted a circus of DeFi innovations, some spectacularly successful, and other projects, facepalm failures, don't get me wrong. Remember the yield farming craze? Folks were making 1000% APY on unicorn-themed tokens until money weren't. Hacks and exploits were hitting protocols left, right, and center, as they were moving fast through chains. And Cardano, it was like a quiet kid in a class, hitting the books while the others partied, and boring, right? Like everybody thought that Cardano was boring, and that's exactly what I thought at the time too. So I dug deeper and I started to notice things that I'd never appreciated. Cardano isn't just doing proof of stake, it's pioneering a new POS protocol called Ouroboros that was mathematically proven secure. I know, sounds super nerdy, right? But bear with me, it's also energy efficient as heck. According to some reports, Cardano's POS uses millions of times less energy than Bitcoin mining. It's like comparing an electric car to a gas guzzling truck. Ethereum only switched from proof of work to proof of stake in 2022, while Cardano was built POS from day one. Kind of impressive in hindsight, right? Cardano, on the other hand, is more like handling someone individual poker chips for one coin. That's the UTXO model, unspent transaction outputs, if you want the jargon. Why does that matter? Because Cardano's model, specifically EUTXO, can enhance security, allow for a bunch of transactions to happen in parallel without stepping on each other's toes, at least in theory. Earlier on, critics yelled that Cardano's approach would never support DeFi because of its something called concurrent issues. Basically, how do multiple people interact with the same smart contracts all at once? Cardano devs answered with some clever solution, an off-chain code approach. It's like everyone said, no way can this work. And Cardano quietly proved it could, but in its own weird mathematical way. Another unique thing I found, Cardano has 2 layers by design. One layer handles the value, the other settlement layer where ADA lives, and another will handle the computations, the computation layer for running smart contracts and dApps. It's as if Cardano built a highway with separate lanes, one for simple transfer and one for the heavy duty stuff. So they don't slow each other down. Most other blockchains, Ethereum included, do everything on one layer, which can get jammed, a bit like a traffic jam, right? Like in one lane on a road, for example, at rush hour. Cardano's multi-lane approach could be a huge advantage as it grows if they can actually, build out the second layer fully. By this point, I'm starting to see Cardano less as a turtle and more like maybe a very strategic chess player. It's not, in a rush to win this year's tournament. It's planning 10 moves ahead. But the skeptic side of me was still like, okay, fancy tech is cool, but does any of it really matter if nobody's using it? And I think that's a fair question, right? So I looked at adoption. Ethereum is still the £800 gorilla tons of developers, massive ecosystem. Solana had NFTs popping and even crypto phone. Not kidding, they went there, believe me. Cardano for a long time had a reputation of all talk, no action. Lots of potential, not as many dApps or users, and to be honest, a year or two ago, I might have agreed. However, the tide has been turning. By 2024, Cardano's DeFi ecosystem finally started gaining traction. I saw a stat that over $700 million in volume got locked into Cardano's DeFi for the first time, and the number of active wallets keeps hitting new highs. Over 4 million wallets at the time that I started researching this. Still small potatoes compared to Ethereum's billions in DeFi, but it's real growth. Plus, Cardano has been doing things differently with partnerships. They've got projects in Africa aiming to give people digital IDs and financial services. Like, they literally worked on a deal to put Ethiopia's students' records on the Cardano blockchain. It's not as sexy as billion-dollar NFTs and in NFT drops, but it's meaningful. It shows a philosophy of real-world impact over quick wins. Around this time, I noticed how decentralized Cardano really is. Decentralization is one of those buzzwords everyone throws around, but Cardano walks the walk. Its staking model has thousands of independent stake pool operators. No single pool can gobble up too much of the network. The protocol actually lowers the pool's rewards after a certain point to encourage decentralization. Compare that to some other chains. I read that Solana has something like half of its tokens go into insiders and VCs in the early days, and a few big validators hold a huge chunk of power. Even Ethereum, after the merge, has a lot of staking pools in the platforms like Lido or other major exchanges, I should say. But Cardano staking felt different. I even tried staking some ADA in the cheeky crypto stake pool Cheek, and I did this myself. Delegated to a small community-run pool like ours, and was pleasantly surprised. My ADA never left my wallet. I could spend it any time, and I still earned rewards. No lockup, no slashing of funds. If a node misbehaves, very user-friendly design in my humble opinion. It was at this moment I realized Cardano might be slow in its development, but it's arguably smoother for the average user who just wants to participate without any headaches. Before I go any further, especially before we get into the juicy topic of ADA's price and speculation, I need to level with you on something pretty important. This might shock you, but I am not a financial advisor, and nothing in this video is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile, and you could lose all of your money you invest. Always do your own research and consult a qualified professional. Your investments are entirely your responsibility, and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to crypto and when it comes to investing generally and overall. And this channel nor YouTube are liable for any losses. This video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Alright, glad we got that out of the way, because the next part of my journey was trying to make sense of all the ADA price hype out there. And oh boy, the hype can get wild. So one late evening, I was scrolling through Twitter and Reddit, and I keep seeing these posts like ADA to $100 incoming, or if you don't have 10,000 ADA now, you'll regret it when it comes to Cardano ADA hitting $500. Now, I'm human. I felt a bit of FOMO tingle in my bones. I mean, is $500 ADA even possible? I was racking my brain and was like, dude, $500 ADA would be like Cardano's market cap well into the tens of trillions, maybe even, GDP of, somewhere G7 countries, and maybe chill numbers at the time. ADA was under $1. So $500 would be what? 500 times increase. That would be literally making Cardano bigger than Bitcoin, Ethereum, and probably every other project combined. So yeah, I'm calling that scenario extremely unlikely, and maybe something out of a sci-fi level, global crypto takeover. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments. Yet I didn't want to dismiss the optimism entirely, because here's the thing. A few years ago, many said Ethereum could never flip Bitcoin, or that a meme coin like Dogecoin could never be a top 10 cryptocurrency, and crazy stuff happens in crypto. Cardano reaching, say, $5 or $10, that's not nearly as insane as $500, especially if crypto as a whole keeps growing. In fact, if Cardano were one day, achieve what Ethereum has now in terms of market size, each ADA could be worth somewhere in the single digit dollar. Not financial advice, don't get me wrong. Don't go mortgage your house, but it's food for thought nonetheless. Not financial advice. What really grabbed me was the community's ethos around ADA. There's this idea of the 10K Cardano ADA club. A small percentage of ADA holders, just a few percentage from what I've seen, actually hold between 10,000 or more ADA. It's like a rare club that people aspire to become part of, because if ADA ever did hit, say, $10 or 10K Satoshis, become 100K, life-changing money for most people, right? I'll admit, after falling down this Cardano rabbit hole, I personally decided to join that club. I accumulated around 10,000 Cardano ADA over time, mostly on price dips using exchanges like BitGet, and even testing out Blowfin a few trades with the affiliate links in the description of this video. By the way, you can support the channel by signing up. Now, does having 10K ADA guarantee me a Lambo in the future? Absolutely not. And I'm not prepared for the possibility that it ever hits $2 again. But I've gained new conviction. ADA is a long-term game, in my opinion. I'm holding it like a moonshot that actually has some solid engineering and philosophy behind it, unlike random meme coins. Speaking of long-term game, the story wouldn't be complete if we didn't speak about what's coming next, because this is where I truly went from curious to genuinely excited. We're currently in the Voltaire era. We're talking about the new chapter of governance. Cardano is doing something pretty unprecedented, handing over control of the project to the community through its on-chain governance model. They're even talking about Cardano constituents and putting that all into action, and actual documented defined core principles that Cardano ADA holders vote on and amend. It's like Cardano is becoming a digital democracy. Ethereum has governance, sure, but a lot of it is off-chain social consensus and dominated by core devs and big stakeholders. Cardano wants to make governance, symbolic. One person, one vote, and I think that's really unique. No one ADA, one vote in this case, but also with checks and balances between regular ADA holders, state pool operators, and constitutional committee. It's ambitious, don't get me wrong, and a bit complex. Yet, if it works, Cardano could become the first major blockchain where users genuinely steer the ship collectively. Imagine every change on Ethereum had to be approved by token holders formerly on chain. That's the road Cardano's going down. And then there's the tech upgrades on the horizon. Remember how Cardano is sometimes mocked for being slow? Enter Hydra. Hydra is the layer 2 solution that opens up potentially massive scaling by handling transactions off main chain, like side roads, branching off the main highway to use as traffic lanes, I guess. In tests, a single Hydra head, which is like a mini leader for a group of users, can do like 1,000 transactions per second by itself. Multiply that by many heads and you get the picture. Cardano could scale by beefing up one chain to Solana-like speeds, but by spiraling, spinning, I can't get my words out, lots of little chains for separate tasks, all settling back on the super secure main chain. It's a different approach to scaling than just making a base layer super fast. Again, very Cardano. There's also talk of sidechains, even EVM compatible sidechains, so devs can use Solidity on Cardano, and improvements to Plutus smart contract language to make it easier for developers in the short. And the roadmap ahead isn't some stagnant we're done. It's more like the best is yet to come. If you can get excited with me, you probably can. By the end of this deep dive, I had a bit of empathy. Here I was, a guy who had chuckled at Cardano memes and maybe underestimated ADA for years, suddenly feeling like I'd uncovered a underdog story. The truth about Cardano, the real why it's so different, comes down to this. It's not trying to win the crypto race by controversial rules at all. Cardano tore up the rulebook and wrote its own. It chose research over hype practices over quick wins, decentralization over speed, and the community governance over founder knows best. That's a pretty stark contrast to most projects out there, and such a bold approach means one or two things is likely in the long run. Either Cardano will be left in the dust by faster movers, or it will slowly and steadily become a dominant force while others scramble over the rushed shortcuts to make fixes. Now, I'm not here to tell you which future will come true. I don't have a crystal ball, and if I did, I'd probably be on a beach somewhere, not making YouTube videos. But I will say this, I've gained a ton of respect for Cardano and what Cardano is attempting. It's easy to get critical in crypto with all the rug pulls and the dog coins and FOMO. Cardano, for all its delays and sometimes dull exterior, gave me a refreshing reminder that there's more than one way to do crypto, and maybe, just maybe, the slow road could end up leading us further. Or not. Maybe in a few years I'll be here saying, well, Cardano never lived up to its promise, but at the least now I understand that promise. It's not just another Ethereum knockoff or favorite of the month chain. It's genuinely something different, and that is something to take into consideration. And different can be powerful. Different is what brings innovation. At the very least, Cardano's currently pushing other projects to up their game. I mean, look at Ethereum. It's having a rival that does everything opposite of you, and then obviously has to reflect and change. You're forcing them to reflect on their own approach, and that is something massive. In that sense, whether you love Cardano ADA or you think it's just hot air, Cardano plays an important role in the current crypto ecosystems out there. As for ADA's price, I know some of you here are wondering. I've made my peace with it being a long-term play. I'm not expecting overnight riches. If it ever hits that crazy $10 or beyond, fantastic. I'll throw a party on Discord, join us there. If not, I will still feel like I'm part of something very interesting by just being along for the ride. So next time someone asks me what's so special about Cardano, I won't be stumped. I'll tell them Cardano is a project that chose the road with less traveled, I guess, from a crypto perspective, and that it has made all the difference, whether it's rigorous tech, the community first approach, or the grand vision of self-governed blockchain societies. Cardano is in a lane all on its own. And in a world where everyone in crypto claims to be unique, this one truly is. Thanks for coming on the journey with me on this little adventure. It's been a ride. If you learned something or just enjoyed the story, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button and stick around, because the crypto journey is just getting started. I will catch you in the next one.